Hi, I'm Rob. I'm here today to show you how to change out your oil pressure sending unit. We're going to do it in easy, basic steps. It's really going to cut the time down on how you do it and get her done. This is the oil pressure sending unit. If you've had problems with your oil pressure gauge being pegged all the way to 80, or bouncing around erratically or down to 0, but yet your engine, you have oil pressure because the rods aren't knocking. This is probably your culprit right here. It's your oil sending unit. And you need a few tools here. The tools I'm going to be using here is a 1.1/16 socket. It's a deep well. Your oil pressure sending unit fits in nice. It's got to be deep enough to where it clears your electrical connector. So just make sure when you buy a socket, it's not a standard socket, so you're probably going to have to go down to AutoZone or O'Reilly and pick up this socket like I did. And then you need a 1/2 inch universal joint, and then a long 1/2 inch extension with a 1/2 inch ratchet. We're going to show you the steps on how to do this. Shouldn't take very long. On this particular model, we're working on my wife's '04 Tahoe, Chevy Tahoe. So this particular motor setup is from, I think, around 2001 on up to 2006. And then there's a body change, and we did a video from an '07 on up. So if you have an '07 on up, then you can go to that video. But we're going to walk you through it right now. Okay, first step is we got to pull this little engine cover off, and you got a 8mm bolt on top here. You take it loose, and pull it off, get it out of the way. That's going to be step number 1. Okay, step number 2 is to remove your fuel line, and this is your high pressure fuel line coming in, and there's a little safety clip right here on the back. You just lift up on the back, slide it out, and get it out of the way. Then I have a special tool that you stick in here. Okay, we're going to push in on this, and then we're going to pull back. And this should release. Easier said than done, they say. Like that. And then you can get this off to the side here. Our third step is to pull this line off right here on the intake manifold. It's your vacuum line. Pull it out like that. Swing it out of the way. Like that. Okay, at this point, I got my hand back in there, and I can feel the connector on top of the oil pressure sending unit. I'm going to lift up on the tab and get it to come off. Sometimes that's, okay, I got it. So it's off. Now I get my hand out of there. Okay, that part's done. Okay, we're going to take our deep socket and try to feed it in here on the sender and get it back in here just like this, and then on top of it right here. And then we'll put the ratchet on here and then back it off. Okay. Okay, we're gonna take it the rest of the way out by hand and then pull it out like this and bring it on out. And the rubber insulator is still on the connector. This is the brand new one, sending unit, and you're gonna have to sneak it back down in here, holding it with your fingers. And then you gotta feel around till you find the hole. Okay. I try to get a couple turns on it, if you can. Okay. And then we'll go back in with the ratchet. a little bit of that Loctite on those threads, so it kind of felt tight. It's going to take a little bit of turning here. Okay, we're just about there. Okay, you want to go good and snug there. Okay, get my socket out of there. Okay, when you go to put the connector back on, you want to make sure you feel where the little index is. And on the oil pressure sending unit, see this little index right here? There's a little pin, and then that's what your little snap you have to release, and then when it pushes back on, it goes over this snap, this little point. That's where the lock is. The connector that's on the back of the engine is similar to this connector. This one's kind of got a flat connector on that goes into the socket. This oil pressure sending unit has a round one, but it has the same kind of tab, locking tab, that this one has, like right here. So when you push it in, you get it lined up with it, and then hear that snap. You'll hear the same snap when you put the connector on the back of this oil pressure sending unit. And when you hear it snap, then you're golden. And reach back in and get the connector. Okay, there's the connector. Stick it on top. And you might have to rotate the connector around until it indexes. See if I can find the, oh, there's the latch over there. I'm like 180 off. There, it snapped. I heard that snap, so we're good. Whew, that was a tough one. It's a tight spot, but you can get it done. Okay, our next step here is to reinstall the fuel line. So we line it up, get it on there, and then we'll push until you hear it snap, like that. And then we'll grab our little lock here, safety lock. Goes in over the top like that, push in, and snap on, just like that. And that's it for that. And then we're going to put this vacuum line back on, onto the intake manifold on this little rubber hose. And that pops in, just like that. And then now we're going to put the engine cover back on. Now we've got everything attached and plugged back in. I fired it up and want to double check for leaks. Everything looks good on here. I checked the gauge. It's reading about 50 psi after I started it up and staying steady, so I know the new oil pressure sending unit is working properly. This is not an easy job, but it's not too bad. Once you do one, you'll be an expert. Other than that, you should be able to walk your way through it just like I did, and be able to have it done probably in about 30 minutes. So good luck on trying to do that. I think it'll save you a lot of time. Like I say, the first time I did one, I had to pull the whole intake manifold off to do it. But using this method, you'll be able to get it done quick and have your gauge working.